and her guts were hanging out. I grabbed her and pulled her. Her mouth was open, and it's just like she wasn't here anymore.
July 20th, 2024. The sun barely cresting over Adele Street in Savannah, Georgia. 911 dispatch lights up with calls from terrified neighbors, gunshots, screaming, then silence. When officers arrived at the scene, they found 17-year-old Maria Pollock's body inside the home. Her father, Maurice, 43 years old, lay nearby with a self-inflicted gunshot wound to the head. But here's what didn't add up. The gun told one story. The box cutter, soaked in blood, told another. The real horror wasn't just how Maria Pollock died, it was why her own father wanted her dead. Welcome back to 247 Real True Crime. I'm your host, and today we're covering a case that shook Savannah, Georgia to its core. A father, a daughter, and a secret so devastating it cost a young girl her life. To our returning viewers, thank you for being here. For new subscribers, hit that notification bell because we bring you the details the media never reported. May their families stay safe wherever they are. Now, let's get into it. Maria Pollock was 17 years old. She'd just been selected for Beach High School's cheerleading squad, a dream she'd been working toward for months. She had a YouTube channel where she posted dance videos with her younger brother James. Bright smile, full of life, a typical teenager looking forward to her senior year. Her father, Maurice Pollock, was 43. To neighbors on Adele Street, he seemed unremarkable, just another dad in Savannah raising his kids. But in the early morning hours of July 20th, Maurice took a box cutter and stabbed his daughter multiple times. Then he turned a gun on himself. He survived. Maria didn't. What we uncovered about Maurice Pollock's hidden life will explain why he chose murder over facing the truth, and what Maria may have discovered about her father in the days before she died. Maria Pollock had just received the news she'd been waiting for all summer. Beach High School's cheerleading squad, she'd made the team. For a 17-year-old heading into her senior year, this was everything. Her friends flooded her social media with congratulations. The kind of excitement that only high school can bring when making the squad feels like conquering the world. Maria posted about it, shared her joy, talked about the upcoming season. She was living the life she'd imagined. But cheerleading wasn't her only passion. Maria had a YouTube channel. Nothing massive, nothing viral, just a space where she could be herself. She posted dance videos, often featuring her younger brother James, the two of them moving in sync, laughing between takes, building something together. For Maria, it wasn't about fame. It was about expression, connection, creating something that mattered. Those who knew her remember a girl who lit up rooms. One former classmate would later write online, "Went to school with her. This is so sad." Simple words that carried the weight of a community's grief. Maria wasn't just known, she was loved. The kind of person people noticed, remembered, missed. Summer 2024 stretched ahead of her like an open road. Senior year was coming, college applications on the horizon. She talked about her future the way teenagers do, half dreaming, half planning, fully believing there was time for everything. Her mother watched her grow with the quiet pride parents carry. Watching Maria become her own person, step into her confidence, build her life piece by piece. There was no reason to think any of it would end. No reason to believe that July would bring anything but more of the same. More cheerleading practices, more videos with James, more plans for what came next. But while Maria was building her future, her father was hiding his past. Maurice Pollock was 43 years old. To most people on Adele Street, he looked like every other dad in Savannah. Someone trying to raise his kids, manage a household, get through the day-to-day grind of life. Nothing about him screamed danger. Nothing about him suggested violence. Inside the home, the family dynamics were more complicated. Maurice had a relationship with Maria, but it wasn't the kind neighbors would have noticed from the outside. The kind of distance that grows between fathers and teenage daughters, normal in some families, troubling in others. But there were cracks, small at first, then widening. Family members had noticed changes. Thelma Grant, someone close to the family, would later make a comment that stood out. Maurice needed to grow away from a great family. Not grow with them. Grow away. As if his presence had become a problem. As if staying was making things worse. So what was Maurice Pollock hiding? Some in the community whispered about affairs. Others mentioned financial troubles, the kind that pile up quietly until they collapse all at once. There were rumors of criminal behavior, details that never quite surfaced publicly but lingered in conversations after the tragedy. Whatever it was, Maurice carried it like a weight. The kind of secret that doesn't just sit in the back of your mind. It grows, demands attention, threatens to destroy everything if exposed, and at some point, Maurice made a calculation. He looked at his life, at his daughter, at the secret he'd been protecting, and he decided that killing Maria was easier than letting the truth come out. The pressure had been building, maybe for weeks, maybe for months. But by July 20th, Maurice Pollock had run out of options. Or at least, he'd convinced himself he had. What he didn't count on was surviving. What he didn't plan for was facing the consequences. The question that haunts this case: what did Maria know? Because something changed in the days leading up to July 20th. Something shifted in that house on Adele Street. And the most logical explanation is that Maria discovered what her father had been hiding. We don't know exactly when. We don't know exactly how. But the timeline suggests it happened recently. Close enough to her death that Maurice felt cornered, desperate, out of time. After the murder, people in the Savannah community started talking. Maylie Mel, someone who apparently knew Maurice, posted a comment that cut through the speculation. He probably was messing with her knowing him. 6 words that suggested this wasn't a complete shock to everyone, that some people had suspicions about Maurice Pollock's behavior, that his actions, while horrific, fit a pattern those closest to him had already seen. Others pointed to a different explanation. Edwards Katrina wrote, "Drugs, BCZ, ain't no way a father would harm his child and stab her multiple times. Substance abuse, the kind that warps judgment, destroys impulse control, makes the unthinkable seem rational. It's possible Maurice was using, that drugs fueled the rage that led him to pick up that box cutter, that in those early morning hours he wasn't thinking clearly, wasn't thinking at all. But here's what we know about family violence. It rarely comes out of nowhere. There's almost always a buildup, a series of smaller conflicts that escalate until someone crosses a line they can't come back from. So let's reconstruct what might have happened. Maria discovers something about her father. Maybe she finds evidence of an affair. Maybe she uncovers financial records showing money missing, debts piling up, lies told to the family. Maybe she walks in on something she wasn't supposed to see. She confronts him, 17 years old, angry, maybe scared, but unwilling to stay quiet. She demands answers. She threatens to tell her mother, tell the family, expose whatever Maurice has been doing. And Maurice realizes he's trapped, that the life he's been holding together with lies is about to come apart, that Maria holds the truth in her hands, and if she speaks, everything ends. The household atmosphere in those final days must have been suffocating, the kind of tension you can feel in the air. Conversations cut short, doors closing a little harder, everyone walking on eggshells without knowing exactly why. Family members would later describe a shift, something off in Maurice's behavior, something strained in the way he interacted with Maria. But no one imagined it would end like this. July 15th through 19th, 2024. The last full week of Maria Pollock's life. On the surface, everything looked normal. Maria was still posting on social media, still making plans for senior year, still thinking about cheerleading season and college applications and all the things 17-year-olds think about when the future feels infinite. Her YouTube channel showed no signs of distress. She posted a video, one of her dance routines, probably filmed with James. The same content she'd been creating all summer. Nothing in her expression suggested fear. Nothing in her movements hinted at what was coming. But that's the cruel reality of these cases. Life continues right up until the moment it doesn't. James spent those final days with his sister the way siblings do, joking around, filming videos, existing in that easy rhythm of people who've known each other their entire lives. Their last dance video together would become something neither of them could have anticipated, a memorial. The last time anyone would see Maria alive and smiling. July 19th, the night before. What happened in the Pollock household that evening? We don't have a complete picture, but we can piece together fragments. Maurice was there, Maria was there, James was there. The house on Adele Street, quiet from the outside, holding whatever conversation or confrontation was unfolding within its walls. Did Maria push the issue that night? Did she give Maurice an ultimatum, tell the truth or she would? Did he try to talk her down, convince her to stay quiet, buy himself more time? Or was it already too late? Had Maurice already made his decision? Had he already looked at his daughter and seen not a person, but a problem that needed to be eliminated? Midnight came, then 1 a.m., then 2 a.m. The hours stretched toward dawn. Neighbors on Adele Street were asleep. The street was dark, quiet, still. No one heard arguing. No one reported shouting or crashes or any indication that violence was about to erupt. That's the thing about these tragedies. They often happen in silence, behind closed doors, in the space between one breath and the next. Sometime in those dark hours before sunrise, Maurice Pollock picked up a box cutter. And 17-year-old Maria Pollock, who'd just made the cheerleading squad, who had a YouTube channel and a little brother and plans for senior year, she ran out of time. By the time the sun came up on July 20th, she was already gone. The attack happened inside the home on Adele Street. Maurice Pollock took a box cutter, the kind you'd find in any garage, any toolbox, completely ordinary until it becomes a weapon, and he stabbed his daughter, multiple times. The Chatham County coroner would later confirm Maria was stabbed at least once, though the full extent of her injuries suggested the assault was prolonged and vicious. This wasn't a single moment of rage. This was sustained violence. A father looking at his daughter and choosing, again and again, to hurt her. Maria fought. She had to have fought. 17 years old, trying to understand why the man who was supposed to protect her was killing her instead. Then Maurice picked up a gun. But he didn't point it at Maria. He pointed it at himself. A single gunshot, self-inflicted wound to the head. The sound shattered the early morning silence on Adele Street. Neighbors jolted awake. That unmistakable crack of gunfire, close enough to feel dangerous, loud enough to demand action. Multiple calls flooded 911 dispatch. Gunshots, something terrible happening. Someone needed to get there fast. Officers arrived within minutes. They entered the home expecting the worst. They found it. Maria Pollock's body lay in the house. No pulse, no breath. Gone. Maurice Pollock was on the floor nearby, blood pooling around his head from the self-inflicted gunshot wound. But he was breathing. Unconscious, critically injured, but alive. The scene told the story investigators needed. The box cutter, still bloody, abandoned after the attack. The gun that Maurice had turned on himself. Evidence of struggle, furniture moved, signs of Maria trying to escape or defend herself. This wasn't an accident. This wasn't a mystery. This was a father who murdered his daughter, then tried and failed to kill himself. Somewhere in Savannah, Maria's mother received the phone call that ends worlds. Your daughter is dead. Your daughter's father killed her. There's no preparation for that moment, no way to soften it, no words that make it comprehensible. James learned that his sister, the girl he'd just filmed dance videos with, the person he'd grown up alongside, was gone, murdered by their father. Paramedics rushed Maurice to the hospital. Gunshot wound to the head, self-inflicted, life-threatening. They stabilized him, got him into surgery, worked to save the life of a man who'd just taken his daughters. By Tuesday, Maurice Pollock's condition had been upgraded to stable. He would survive. He would face trial. He would have to answer for what he did. The Chatham County coroner issued the official report. Maria Pollock, 17 years old, died from stab wounds. Pronounced dead at the scene. Time of death: early morning, July 20th, 2024. News spread fast. On Adele Street, neighbors stood in clusters, trying to process what had happened 3 houses down. Some had heard the gunshot, others had slept through it. All of them were trying to reconcile the violence with the normalcy they'd seen before. At Beach High School, Maria's cheerleading squad learned they'd lost one of their own before the season even started. The girl who'd just made the team, who'd been so excited, who'd posted about her dreams, dead. Her YouTube followers opened the app to find tributes flooding the comments, people who'd watched her dance videos, who'd followed her content, who felt like they knew her even if they'd never met. The comments came fast and raw. "Went to school with her, this is so sad." A cousin wrote, "Rest in peace, cousin, I miss you." The pain spreading outward in circles, family, friends, classmates, strangers who'd only known Maria through a screen, but mourned her anyway. Thelma Grant, close to the family, posted in disbelief, "I can't believe this happened from a great family. I just don't know what could be in someone's mind to do this to their own child. I am blown away with this." Because that's the question everyone was asking. What drives a father to murder his own daughter? What secret was worth her life? What could Maurice Pollock have been hiding that made killing Maria seem like a solution? The investigation would have to answer that, but first they had to wait for Maurice to wake up. And when he did, he'd have to face what he'd done. The Savannah Police Department's homicide unit took control of the investigation immediately. This wasn't a whodunit. Maurice Pollock had killed his daughter, that much was clear, but they needed to understand why. Detectives began with Maurice's background, criminal history, employment records, financial documents, building a complete picture of who this man was before he became a murderer. Maurice Pollock didn't get to escape through death. By Tuesday following the incident, his condition had been upgraded to stable. The gunshot wound that should have killed him didn't. He survived, which meant he would face justice. Once released from the hospital, Maurice Pollock was formally charged with murder. The Chatham County legal system moved forward with prosecution, charging him with the brutal killing of his 17-year-old daughter. The arraignment placed Maurice in front of a judge for the first time since the murder. Hands cuffed, head bandaged from the self-inflicted gunshot wound, standing in an orange jumpsuit while the charges were read aloud. Murder, premeditated, his own daughter. Court appearances followed. Legal proceedings that felt both necessary and hollow, because no trial, no sentence, no punishment could bring Maria back. Maurice's behavior during the legal process revealed little. He wasn't defiant. He wasn't apologetic. He simply existed in the space between what he'd done and what would happen to him now. Did he show remorse? Did he express regret for taking Maria's life? The public record doesn't indicate any statements where Maurice acknowledged the magnitude of his crime or offered explanation for why he did it. Silence can be its own kind of answer. As for the final outcome, whether Maurice Pollock has been sentenced, whether he accepted a plea deal, whether he's currently awaiting trial, those details depend on where the case stands now in the Chatham County court system. What we know for certain is this: Maurice Pollock murdered his daughter. He was caught, charged, and will spend the rest of his life answering for that choice. Whether he sits in a prison cell or awaits sentencing, the result is the same. Maria is gone. Maurice destroyed his family, and nothing, no trial, no verdict, no punishment, will ever make that right. The wheels of justice turn slowly, but they're turning, and Maurice Pollock will face every consequence of what he did on July 20th, 2024. Maria's mother had to bury her daughter, had to stand at a funeral for a 17-year-old who should have been preparing for senior year, not lying in a casket. Her tribute was simple, devastating. She doesn't deserve this. 3 words that carried the weight of a mother's grief. Because Maria didn't deserve this. She didn't deserve to be murdered by her own father, didn't deserve to have her future stolen, didn't deserve to become a statistic, a headline, a true crime case. She deserved to grow up, to graduate, to keep dancing with her brother, to live. Maria's aunt spoke publicly about the tragedy, trying to process how someone in their family, someone they'd trusted, lived with, loved, could do something so monstrous. Maurice's actions didn't just take Maria's life. They shattered the entire family structure, leaving everyone to pick up pieces that would never fit back together. Then there's James, Maria's younger brother. He lost his sister, the person he made videos with, the person he danced alongside, the person who was simply there, part of his everyday life, until suddenly she wasn't. But he also lost his father, not to death, to betrayal. Maurice didn't just take Maria from James, he took himself too, left James to navigate grief and anger and confusion all at once, trying to understand how the man who raised him could murder the sister he loved. Their social media handle remains online, a digital monument to a bond that ended too soon. Every video now a reminder of what was, what could have been, what will never be again. A cousin posted their own tribute. "Rest in peace, cousin, I miss you." The emojis, a broken heart, two doves, trying to express what words can't. Grief that doesn't fade, loss that doesn't heal, absence that becomes permanent. Friends from Beach High School mourned publicly. Kiana and others who sat in classes with Maria, who knew her as more than a victim, who remembered her laugh and her energy and the way she moved through the world before Maurice took that away. The cheerleading squad honored her memory, the team she'd just made, the group she was supposed to be part of all senior year. They cheered for Maria when the season started. They kept a space for her. They made sure no one forgot. Her online followers who'd watched her dance videos, who'd commented encouragement, who'd been part of her small corner of the internet, turned her channel into a memorial. Comment sections filled with tributes, condolences, people processing their grief through pixels and keyboards. "Went to school with her, this is so sad." Over and over, people saying the same thing in different ways. "This shouldn't have happened. She mattered. We remember." Familicide, when parents kill their children, happens more often than most people realize. According to national data, fathers are responsible for the majority of these cases. The reasons vary: financial ruin, custody disputes, mental health crises, abuse being exposed. But the outcome is always the same. A child who trusted their parent ends up dead by that parent's hand. Warning signs exist: escalating control, isolation from support systems, sudden behavioral changes, substance abuse, threats, either direct or implied. The question is whether anyone sees them in time, whether family members feel safe reporting concerns, whether systems are in place to intervene before violence erupts. In Savannah, Maria's death forced conversations about domestic violence resources, about how the community supports families in crisis, about what happens when danger exists inside the home. Could this have been prevented? That's the question that haunts every case like this. Maybe if someone had reported Maurice's behavior earlier, maybe if Maria had felt safe going to authorities about what she'd discovered, maybe if the warning signs had been taken seriously instead of dismissed as family drama, but maybe not, because sometimes violence happens despite every intervention. Sometimes people are determined to destroy, and nothing stops them. Maria's legacy isn't just her death, it's the awareness her story creates, the conversations it forces, the possibility that someone else, somewhere, recognizes warning signs in their own life and gets help before it's too late. What we still don't know may never be revealed. The exact nature of Maurice's secret, the specific moment Maria discovered it. What words were exchanged in those final hours? Whether Maurice planned the murder or acted impulsively. Some questions die with the victims. Some answers stay buried with the perpetrator's shame. What we do know is enough. Maurice Pollock murdered his daughter to protect himself, and Maria Pollock paid the ultimate price for her father's cowardice. Maria Pollock was more than a victim. She was a cheerleader, a dancer, a content creator, a sister, a daughter, and a friend. She had dreams and plans, and a future that should have unfolded over decades, not ended at 17. If you or someone you know is experiencing domestic violence, please reach out. The National Domestic Violence Hotline is 1-800-7999-7233. You can also text START to 88788. Help exists. You don't have to face this alone. What are your thoughts on this case? Let us know in the comments respectfully. This is a real family grieving a real loss. Hit that subscribe button and bell icon for more true crime cases where we uncover the truth the media doesn't tell you. Rest in peace, Maria Pollock. Your light was extinguished far too soon, but your memory lives on. Next time on 247 Real True Crime, we're covering a case that started with a missing person report and ended with a confession no one saw coming. You won't want to miss it.